So hello everyone and welcome to this new podcast, 10 questions about cloud. Today we have Florian Mateescu with us. Welcome, Florian.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. The pleasure is mine having you here. I always like new stories to share. And first of all, I always start this podcast just introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, what's your background.
Okay, so my name is Florian Mateescu. I'm a solution architect for car software org, so mainly focusing on one product for the company, that's the digital assistant. So main focus of the product is to offer to the end customers, and in this case to the drivers, an better comfort and experience inside the car. And all the let's say the backend part, and also the recommendations based on some machine learning algorithms are built on Azure components, so Azure services. And I'm working with the team on providing on the Azure side the best solution. This is the mainly role that I have currently.
Wow, sounds like very complex, but also very interesting.
Yeah, it is, and I'm happy to be part of this project because I already mentioned it's a mixture between let's say hardware, so the car itself, and also the backend tile, and on some machine learning, and of course cloud in the middle. And this is maybe once in a life, I would say, opportunity.
Wow, very, very interesting. So you are touching so many different topics, which actually makes the project so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So I'm curious now about your cloud journey. Could you share with us, when did you started actually working with the cloud?
Yeah, so maybe I will start with the beginning. Originally, I'm coming from the software development, and when I say software development, this is more programming side. So like back time Java development, starting with the basics, so with the Java version 1.2. And let's say beginnings of Java Enterprise and Spring framework, so not Spring Boot, what we know. So, and I will say now legacy may be some old-fashioned, and still this experience is very useful also in these times, in the cloud era, I will say. And I started around about 5 years with Google Cloud first, and that was in a project for let's say order management, and also for pricing and pricing recommendations. In that I had the opportunity to know and learn about Google and what Google is offering. And I have a role as a solution architect and data engineer later on. So I started with the data engineering and tried to provide for one product inside the company data engineering pipeline, which includes also the DevOps related side. So, and for that, I'm after that I moved to Azure, and Azure is what I'm currently doing from the cloud providers itself.
Well, that's pretty interesting because you have kind of experience using two different cloud providers, which gives you more background, and it helps definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. And I can see some similarities between them, and that is something that I can say brings me also faster in learning what one of the other is offering.
Cool. That follows to the next question, which is it's more related to the cloud itself, not related to a cloud service provider, because there are a lot of advantages of the cloud. Brings so many and so different depending on the strategy you adopt, on the and on the objectives and goals that you have. Which are, in your opinion, or in your use case, in your experience, the biggest cloud advantages?
I think so. One of the biggest advantages is flexibility that you have. And when I mean flexibility, that is related to time to market, but also to the costs itself. So when I'm saying so, both are very I would say very useful for someone who is starting to use cloud. On one side, you can start very fast development. So with provisioning new infrastructure services and components that you think that will pass for your architecture. And you are paying exactly for the hardware or the infrastructure what you need. No? So it's something that the cloud itself is offering. And of course, the cloud itself is bringing also some of the best practices. Some services which are now in the cloud markets, even if it's Google, Azure, AWS, and so on, are built on some frameworks which are very, very popular, and most of them are using some best practices, and that is there for who wants to use them.
To be honest, I was expecting from you something like innovation or something like that, since you are working with such as cool products or building such as complex solutions. However, yeah, those are, of course, flexibility, time to market, and cost optimization are three very, very, very important topics, which we agree that they are really, yeah. If not,
yeah, no, perfectly agree also with you. The innovation is one factor, but this is something which it's mainly driven from the product of the team itself. And that's why it's time to market, because the solution itself has to be, let's say, or the requirements have to be offered by the team, by you. And of course, this best practice is what the cloud is offering, and these services are very useful in this context. But perfectly with you, the innovation, it's also one driving aspect, and also the cloud itself is providing support on that area.
It's really easy to test something. You don't need to buy any hardware or any configurations. It's just very, very easy to test something, and that's why innovating with a cloud it's easier, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, perfectly agree with you.
Cool. So the next question is one of the most common questions I get working as a cloud consultant, which is basically which cloud provider to use. There are a lot of factors that or contracts which you can consider. Could you share with us what would you recommend to someone or to a company which cloud provider to choose?
It's I will say hard questions. Question in this cannot be answered generically. No? So I cannot say, okay, please use that or that. Depends on, I will say, on the use case, on the demand, what you have, maybe on some legal aspects. No? So if you are thinking on China, and I already mentioned that the cloud providers offers basically, I will say, same advantages and same solutions. So the decision itself should come maybe from the company itself. and based on some skills that the people have, and maybe on some cost, or what I mentioned, some legal factors. But every cloud provider itself can definitely support on some parts better than the other.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that it's not an easy question, and there is also not a kind of a wrong answer. It's just you touch really important points in my opinion. And what I always say is that choosing the cloud provider is not an IT decision; it's more a business decision.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
I mean, almost with any big cloud provider, you can implement almost any kind of IT solution. It's more a business decision which will make the balance.
Yeah, and this business decision should also include what I already said. Maybe one additional aspect: let's say the demanded skills of the people involved in the project, and that should be also taken in consideration. There are some, let's say, some providers are offering more support for, I would say, .NET or PowerShell. Some are very Python and so on. So there are also, from the technical perspective, some aspects which has to be taken in consideration. But this is not a decision which is basically or should be taken only on the technical aspect. Definitely, that's a business decision.
Yeah, 100% agree on the cloud skills and the knowledge of the team. That's really a key factor in order to choose one cloud provider. Because if you have to form or you have to train all your team to use one cloud provider, but they always have the knowledge of another one, you will save a lot of time and money probably.
Yeah.
So the next question is related also to the cloud providers. You already mentioned a lot of them. And now it's kind of, not now, but during the last years, I would say, the word multi-cloud, it's been kind of trendy. But in my opinion, it's not for every company or even solution using this kind of environment. What do you think about these multi-cloud approaches?
So I think it's something that definitely has to be taken in consideration now and in the future most, because we already touched that point with the business decision and also with the skills. There will be definitely during the, let's say, the development and maybe the increase on the business on one company, there will be need also for additional let's say products which could be built better on one cloud platform or another. So it could be maybe on Azure, definitely done because, like I mentioned, some skills or maybe some services which are better useful there, and some parts which are on the I would say so AWS or maybe Google Cloud. And these are also working perfectly, and this doesn't have to be changed. So this kind of integration on the multi-cloud will be definitely much more demanded in the future, since the interconnections between the products, it's very important now and also back time in the future. And what has to be taken in consideration, I will say, on this multi-cloud is to try to automate as much as possible the infrastructure part, and to ensure that at least from the provisioning of the infrastructure, the dependency on the cloud provider is not so high. Like for example, using Terraform, or trying to build microservices architectures, and using some service mesh to discover whatever that services are running on one cloud provider or another.
You really touched the point which I wanted to say, which is basically to build the infrastructure as cloud agnostic as possible, so that you don't have in the future problems if you want to go to a multi-cloud strategy or just go all with one cloud provider or with another. And you really did I really agree with your opinion, and this is very, very important for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. We could also add IBM, Oracle, Alibaba. As you see, there are a lot of cloud services provider in the market, but we see since few years already how the cloud market share is. We see, of course, on the top AWS and Microsoft Azure. But the question is more related with the future. How do you see this cloud market share in the future? Do you see these hyperscalers on the top, or do you see also new players coming up to the top?
I think so. If we are looking now, yes, AWS, Azure, and are on the top, followed by Google or Alibaba. But this is also because they started earlier, I would say.
Yeah.
And Google, for example, has a very, I would say, hard target to become also in the next years. So they put like I think 2024 or something like that to become also or to come also in the top two at least, no? And that will change because everyone is trying to catch this gap. So this time that they lose, everyone, and I mean, so the big company understood that this demand on cloud is increasing. And I think that the market share will also be in the next, I would say maybe 5 to 10 years, then will be like something different. No? So I would see that the top player will still be the three, what we mentioned, and maybe Alibaba will come also on that side. And I also hope that maybe some this European Union initiative will come also with some support on that side. So that will be not in the top three. I'm not expecting that, but definitely it's also something that for some European Union companies will also make sense.
Good point. That with the European clouds, so to say, I would love to have a big company there. With presence, with real presence, with real capabilities to be at the same level. That will, I mean, it's a dream for me.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's see how the future evolves and how much money they invest. Yeah,
that's everything relates to money, and but what is one maybe important factor here, it's that also there it is realized how much impact has cloud in everything what it's happening now in in our era, the digitalization era, no? So cloud is very, very important, and that's why the pure player will still be there, but there will be some changes in the next years, definitely.
Yeah, I always say that cloud is like the basis where you build all your product and all your software, and if you don't have a basis, you cannot build anything on top of that, and that's why it's so important right now. Because you have this flexibility and this cost optimization and also the availability, the scalability. I mean, there are a lot of factors which are helping to the cloud to be so popular, so to say, and so adopted.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the next question is related to China. changing a little bit topic, we know how massive the market is, and we also know how fast it is growing. On terms of cloud, the cloud market in China is growing kind of 50 to 60% every year, which is a lot. As well as the Chinese cloud providers, they started also expanding out of Asia, kind of to Europe, to US, and to other countries. How do you see this during the next years? How do you expect this to evolve? What do you think is going to happen with all this?
China is on the wave, I would say, and that is and you see there's a lot of dependency on the business side on China now, and China is offering not only cloud solutions now, it's offering almost everything what in the digital era it's needed, and also from the simple products to, let's say, software solutions like or maybe hardware like Huawei and so on. So they are become very powerful, and they also understood that cloud it's very important, and the needs for cloud it's expanding, and that's why the solutions what Alibaba is offering, for example, definitely will try to reach also other markets like European or US markets, and that will also increase, I'm expecting. But like I mentioned, it will be a battle, which is, I will say, hard to be say at the end who will be the winner, but definitely there will be some companies on the top, for which the number of users or also the companies, the products will increase, because the demand is also increasing. So a lot of companies are seeing that cloud is the way, and the demand on the cloud will increase on all the pure players. And yeah. China definitely will be part of that, and the solutions that they will offer definitely will fit also to other markets.
What I actually really like from China is that before it was a country which was related very much with the production and these kind of things, but now what I really liked is that they have started with innovation. They have started also adopting and creating new applications, new technologies, and I think that's the powerful, or the power that they have now. That they understood the power of innovating, and that's, in my opinion, very something to take care of.
Yeah. So definitely the let's say the time when China was used only to, let's say, I will say only for production and only more or less for copy paste, it's way back. So they are offering now also solutions, and solutions also on the software area and also on the cloud now, and that will definitely increase in the future.
Cool. So we are almost about to finish the podcast. Just the last two questions. These questions are more personal. First of all, I would like you to share with us kind of one of the latest things that you learned. Can be I don't know, strategic, technology, a tool, or something which is related with the cloud.
Mm-hmm. So what I definitely recommend, because I did that, so 1 month ago, the certification for the Google Cloud Professional Architect, and I recommend that because it is not only related to Google Cloud as a provider. So it touched very good also the concepts behind cloud, and let's say the parts which are very important, like infrastructure as a code, like microservices architectures, like building also continuous integration or continuous delivery pipelines, networking, and so on. And this is done in a very smart way with very less Google Cloud related questions. And this is for someone who has time and interest to or also want to in the future to work with cloud. This is something that I definitely recommend, because will help even if you are choosing Google Cloud or maybe other providers, AWS or Azure.
So if I understood correctly, you say that you will learn all the foundations and all the fundamentals of the cloud, which will basically give you like an huge overview of the cloud itself and how it works behind the scenes.
Exactly. So this is what definitely I saw, and the concepts itself are reused also on the other clouds similar. So that's why also the certification itself is not so much tied to Google, because also the title, it's a cloud architect, and this is something that can be applied on any other cloud provider.
Cool. That's pretty good. I will take a look into it, definitely.
Yes.
And yeah, let's go to the last question, which is basically a problem that I have, because there is a lot of information out there about cloud, and sometimes it's difficult for me to choose which information to use and what to read, because it's impossible to get everything. And also the cloud evolves so many different topics, technologies, from, I don't know, big data to storage, computing, machine learning. It's impossible to know everything about the cloud. So I am just curious about which sources do you use to keep yourself up to date?
So I think so the documentation itself from the cloud providers, even if it's Azure and AWS, Google Cloud, it's very good. So this is, I would say, also for detail or for deep dive, very, very powerful. What I'm so this is what I'm using. I also had some, and this is what I recommend, some trainings on the Cloud Guru platform. If you heard about this, it's a platform for cloud, and they are providing also some trainings for the cloud itself, like kind of foundation, but also deep dives. And if I'm coming with let's say a particular implementation on the cloud area, then I'm doing research on the internet and also on the provider documentation, and a lot of learning by doing. This is what I would also recommend. There are a lot of samples, and also on the GitHub official, lot of samples also for any of the providers itself, and try to take the samples, try to execute, understand what is happening there, and then it's much more clear. Reading is not always the good solution, and this is what definitely will help learning by doing, it's always the best practice.
That's really a very good sentence to finish the podcast, because it defines basically how the work with the cloud is. And I just want to thank you for your time, for participating. It's been a pleasure for me and for all of the listeners to have you here and learn from you and get inspired from you and from your experience. And very curious to see how your projects go and through the time. And I will put all your information and social networks on the description of the podcast so that anyone can contact you in case they are interested. And thank you very much again.
No, thank you very much for your invitation again. It was a pleasure to talk with you. And so I would be happy to have some also again some podcasts and maybe some deep dive discussions about particular topics. But thank you very much again for this very nice talk with you.
I take your word. I will contact you in the future. All right. So thank you very much, and see you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.